name is Wendy Joseph. I'm the Executive Director of the Highlands Coalition, and we are here at our 4th annual celebration at High Rock Tower Park. We have a celebration that includes a reading of a Frederick Douglass speech, which is from Mass Humanities. We are co-sponsored by Mass Humanities, as well as local talent for singing and dancing, as well as sponsored by the Highlands Coalition. We have our lovely new Frederick Douglass t-shirts for sale. They were done by Straight Ahead Ministries, as well as a navigator's benefit for the Highlands Coalition, and a lot of fun. We have free pony rides for the kids. We have 3 ponies this year, and we're going to have the speech and then open up High Rock Tower, and we'll see if any other cities other than Lynn have their fireworks going tonight. We're going to see them. But it's a beautiful night so far. It's nice and breezy. We're going to start off with Latina Cultura dancers, and we have Dickie Krause, Janie David, David Simmons, and Al Nesser and friends. Now we are having the musical stylings of Al Nesser and friend.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him man? Yes, and how many times seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friends, is a blowing in the wind. The answer is a blowing in the wind.
So I just want to say Happy Independence Day. I know it's the 3rd of July, not the 4th, but in the city of Lynn, at the High Rock, all these kids, all these families, they are happy to do these things. So it's awesome, especially the horses part. The kids love it, so they should do more things around, and it's awesome, great.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You've got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine.
Hello, my name is David Hill. I'm here at High Rock Park tonight, the night before the 4th. And I'm going to be reading the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. I have a lot of memories of High Rock. Played here when I was a little boy. and I'd like to thank the Highlands Coalition for having me tonight. I am formerly with the Concord Minutemen of Concord, Massachusetts, and I hope everyone has a great Independence Day.
Spotted at an auction down the Mason's Lodge. Johnson County Sheriff painted on the side. Shot a coat of primer, then he looked inside.
This is Wendy Joseph, the Executive Director of the Highlands Coalition.
And I'm Rich Calucci, the City Councilor for this area.
And we are happy to be presenting the 4th annual celebration at High Rock Tower. We got Dickie Krause up there on the harmonica. We got this gentleman who's come from 1776 to read something that's happening up in Boston. We don't know what's going on. But then when we were done, we're going to read a speech by Mr. Frederick Douglass, and we're very, very happy to do that.
And we want to keep it happy up here tonight.
Thank you.
Volunteered for the Army on my birthday. Got the white trash first around here anyway.
The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles that seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses evinces are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. The King of Great Britain, George III, is guilty of 27 specific abuses. The King interfered with the colonists' right to self-government and for a fair judicial system. Acting with Parliament, the King also instituted legislation that affected the colonies without their consent. This legislation levied taxes on the colonists. It also required them to quarter British soldiers, remove their right to trial by jury, and prevented them from trading freely. Additionally, the King and Parliament are guilty of outright destruction of American life and property by their refusal to protect the colony's borders, their confiscation of American ships at sea, and their intent to hire foreign mercenaries to fight against the colonists. The colonial governments tried to reach a peaceful reconciliation of these differences with Great Britain, but were continually ignored. Colonists who appealed to British citizens were similarly ignored, despite their shared common heritage and their just cause. After many peaceful attempts, the colonists have no choice but to declare independence from Great Britain. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may have right to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Ladies and gentlemen, the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. May I wish you all a very happy 4th of July. God bless. Thank you.
Dave Hill, ladies and gentlemen, news fresh from Boston. Give him up. Okay, we are going to begin our reading of the Frederick Douglass speech, but we want to remind you that this is the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Yes, it is. And we have a little bit that Miss Cynthia is going to read for us before we begin.
Welcome everybody. You look great out there. Thank you for supporting. Civil Rights Act turns 50 years today. When Lyndon Johnson became president after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, so closely had he played his political cards that nobody was exactly sure what he believed in. Very quickly, surprisingly, answer became clear. Civil rights, Johnson went all in on Kennedy's stalled bill, declaring, "What's the point of being president if you can't do what you know is right?"
Thank you, Miss Cynthia. All right, I want to introduce the drummer that's going to be assisting us as we read words of Frederick Douglass. His name?
Marseille.
Okay, so Leslie Greenberg, who's going to raise her hand. You get the speech, and you walk on up there, and you come on down, and you read one paragraph. So everybody line up who wants to speak words. This is what they're reading. Okay, why don't you get... I'm going to begin. And I hope everybody, especially the people that are running for office and people that have been voted into office, that are here, Mr. Starbird, etc., will be reading. Katerina. July 5th, 1852. Mr. President, friends and fellow citizens, the task before me is one which requires much previous thought and study for its proper performance. The papers and placards say that I am to deliver a 4th of July oration. This certainly sounds large and out of the common way, for it is true that I have often had the privilege to speak in this beautiful hall and to address many who now honor me with their presence. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, the distance between this platform and the slave plantation from which I escaped is considerable, and the difficulties to be overcome in getting from the latter to the former are by no means slight. That I am here today is to me a matter of astonishment as well as of gratitude. Next reader. And why don't you introduce yourself before you read?
Elizabeth McKim. Okay, this one, this mic? Number 2. This, yeah. This, for the purpose of this celebration, is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. This to you is what the Passover was to the emancipated people of God. It carries your minds back to the day and to the act of your great deliverance. This celebration also marks the beginning of another year of your national life and reminds you that the Republic of America is now 76 years old. I am glad, fellow citizens, that your nation is so young. You are, even now, only in the beginning of your national career, still lingering in the period of childhood. I repeat, I am glad this is so. There is hope in the thought, and hope is much needed under the dark clouds which lower above the horizon.
Fellow citizens, the simple story is that 76 years ago, the people of this country were British subjects. The style and title of your sovereign people, in which you now glory, was not then born. You were under the British crown. Your fathers esteemed the English government as the home government, England as the fatherland, although a considerable distance from your home, imposed in the exercise of its parental prerogatives upon its colonial children such restraints, burdens, and limitations as in its mature judgment it deemed wise, right, and proper.
Janie David. But your fathers, who had not adopted the idea of infallibility of government and the absolute character of its acts, presumed to differ from the home government in respect to the wisdom and the justice of some of those burdens and restraints. They went so far as to pronounce the measures of government unjust, unreasonable, and oppressive, and altogether such as ought not to be quietly submitted to. I scarcely need say, fellow citizens, that my opinion of those measures fully accords with that of your fathers. Feeling themselves harshly and unjustly treated by the home government, your fathers, like men of honesty and men of spirit, earnestly sought redress. They petitioned and remonstrated. They did so in decourse, respectful, and loyal manner this, however, did not answer the purpose. They saw themselves treated with sovereign indifference, coldness, and scorn. Thank you.
My name is Katiancia. Oppression makes a wise man mad. Your fathers became restive under this treatment. They felt themselves the victim of grievous wrongs, wholly incurable in their colony capacity. With brave men, there is always a remedy of oppression. Just here, the idea of a total separation of the colonies from the crown was born. It was a startling idea, much more so than we at this distance of time regard it. The timid and the prudent of that day were of course shocked and alarmed by it. Their opposition to the then dangerous thought was earnest and powerful, but amid all their terror and affrigid vociferations against it, then alarming and revolutionary idea moved on in the country with it.
Hi, my name is Cherish, this is Absaya, and this is Olivia. We call her Livy Love. On the 2nd of July, 1776, the Old Continental Congress, to dismay the lovers of ease and the worshippers of property, clothed the dreadful idea with all the authority of national sanction. They did so in the form of resolution. We seldom hit upon resolutions drawn upon in our day, whose transparency is at all equal it. Resolved that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown.
Hello, my name is Lisette Orellana. Citizens, your fathers made good that resolution. They succeeded, and today you reap the fruits of their success. The freedom's gain is yours, and you, therefore, may properly celebrate this anniversary. The 4th of July is the first great fact in your nation's history, the very ring bolt in the chain of your yet developed destiny.
I'm Dickie Krause. Fellow citizens, I'm not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. I cannot contemplate their great deeds with less than admiration. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes. And for the good they did and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory.
My name is Cynthia Casey. They love their country better than their own private interest, and all will concede that it is a rare virtue that ought to command respect. He who will intelligently lay down his life for his country is a man who is not in human nature to despise. Your fathers staked their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on the cause of their country.
Good evening. My name's Katerina Penichatakis Kouranis. Reading number 10. They were peacemen, but they preferred revolution to peaceful submission to bondage. They were quiet men, but they did not shrink from agitating against oppression. They showed forbearance, but they knew its limits. They believed in order, but not in the order of tyranny. With them, nothing was settled but was not right. With them, justice, liberty, and humanity were final, not slavery and oppression. You may well cherish the memory of such men. They were great in their day and generation. Their solid manhood stands out the more as we contrast it with these degenerate times.
Good evening, my name is Beatrice Jimache, and I'm reading 11. How circumspect, exact, and proportionate were all their movements. How unlike, I can see, the politicians of an hour. Their statementship looked beyond the passing. Really, I don't see. My eyes. So that's okay. Let me see. How circumspect, exact, and proportionate were all their movements. How unlike the politicians of an hour. Their statementship looked beyond the passing moment and stretched away in strength into the distant future, fully appreciating the hardship to be encountered, firmly believing in the right of their cause, wisely measuring the terrible odds against them. Your fathers, the fathers of the Republic, laid the cornerstone of the national supernatural, which has risen and stayed raising in grandeur around you. Of this fundamental work, this day, the anniversary. I thank you very much.
My name is Katansia. I'm reading number 12. My business, if I have any here today, is with the present. The accepted time with God and his cause is in the ever-living now. We have to do with the past only as we can make it useful to the present and to the future. Now is the time, the important time. Your fathers have lived, died, and have done their work, and have done much of it well. You live and must die, and you must do your work. You have no right to enjoy a child's share in labor of your fathers unless your child are to be blessed by your own labors. You have no right to wear out and waste the hard-earned frame of your fathers to cover your indolence.
My name is still Dave Simmons. Fellow citizens, pardon me, allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us?
Good evening. My name is Alan. I'll be reading 14. Would to God, both for your sake and ours, that an affirmative answer could be truthful returns to these questions. Then would my task be light, and my burden easy and delightful. Thank you.
I'm Dickie Krause. This is paragraph 15. But such is not the state of the case. I say it with a sad sense of the disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us.
Woo! The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritances of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I may mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the ground, illuminated temple of liberty, and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems. In inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony, do you mean citizens to mock me? By asking me to speak today, fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions, whose chains heavy and grievous yesterday are today, rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Rick Stobbard. I'll be reading paragraph 17. My subject, then, fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day from the slave's point of view, standing here identified with the American bondman, making his wrongs mine. I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked blacker to me than on this 4th of July. Whether we turn to the declarations of the past or the professions of the present, the conduct of the nation seem equally hideous and revolting. America is false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to be false to the future.
Hello, my name is Stanley Watering, aka Trippy, and I am reading paragraph 18. Standing with God, then, and the crushed and the bleeding slave of this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity which is outraged, in the name of liberty which is feathered, in the name of the Constitution and the Bible, which are disregarded and trampled upon, dare to call into question and to denounce, with all the emphasis I can command, everything that serves to perpetuate slavery, the great sin and the shame of America. I will not equivocate. I will not excuse. I will use the sliverous language I can command, and yet not one shall escape me than any man whose judgment is not blinded for justice, and who is not at heart of a slaveholder shall not confess to be right and just. Thank you.
My name is Riley Hines, and I hear someone of my audience say it is just of circumstance that you are and your brother abolitions fail to make a favorable impression to the public mind. Would you argue more and denounce less? Would you persuade more and rebuke less? Your cause would be much more likely to succeed. But I submit, where all is planned, there is nothing to be argued. What point is the anti-slavery creed would you have me argued?
My name is Brenna Hines, and I'm going to be reading 20. Must I undertake to prove that the slave is a man, the slaveholders themselves acknowledge it in the enactment of laws for their government. They acknowledge it when they punish disobedience on the part of the slaves. There are 72 crimes in the state of Virginia, which, if committed by the black man, subject him to the punishment of death, while any two of the same crimes will subject a white man to the like punishment. What is this but the acknowledgement that the slaves is a moral, intellectual, and responsible being?
I'm Deborah Hines, reading paragraph 21. Southern statute books are covered with enactments forbidding, under severe fines and penalties, the teachings of the slave to read or to write. When you can point to any such laws in reference to the beasts of the field, then I may consent to argue the manhood of the slave. When the dogs in your streets, when the fowls of the air, when the cattle on your hills, when the fish of the sea and the reptiles that crawl shall be unable to distinguish the slave from a brute, then I will argue with you that the slave is a man.
Dickie Krause, paragraph 22. For the present, it is enough to affirm the equal manhood of the Negro race. Is it not astonishing that while we are plowing, planting, and reaping, using all kinds of mechanical tools, erecting houses, constructing bridges, building ships, working in metals of brass, iron, copper, silver, and gold, that while we are reading, writing, and ciphering, acting as clerks, merchants, and secretaries, having among us lawyers, doctors, ministers, poets, authors, editors, orators, and teachers, that while we are engaged in all manner of enterprises common to other men, digging gold in California, capturing the whale in the Pacific, feeding sheep and cattle on the hillside, living, moving, acting, thinking, planning, living in families as husbands, wives, and children, and above all, confessing and worshiping the Christian's God and looking hopefully for life and immortality beyond the grave, we are called upon to prove that we are men.
Elizabeth, would you have me argue that man is entitled to liberty, that he is the rightful owner of his own body? You have already declared it. Must I argue the wrongfulness of slavery? Is it to be settled by the rules of logic and argumentation as a matter beset with great difficulty, involving a doubtful application of the principle of justice, hard to be understood? How should I look today in the presence of Americans to show that men have a natural right to freedom? To do so would be to make myself ridiculous and to offer an insult to your understanding. There is not a man beneath the canopy of heaven that does not know that slavery is wrong for him.
My name is Katansia. I'll be reading 24. What am I to argue that it is wrong to make men brutes, to rob them of their liberty, to work them without wages, to keep them ignorant of their relations to their fellow men, to beat them with sticks, to flay their flesh with lash, to load their limbs with irons, to hunt them with dogs, to sell them at auction, to sunder their families, to knock out their teeth, to burn their flesh, to starve them into obedience and submission to their masters? Must I argue that a system thus marked with blood and stained with pollution is wrong? No, I will not. I have better employment for my time and strength than such arguments would imply.
My name continues to be Dave Simmons. What then remains to be argued? Is it that slavery is not divine, that God did not establish it, that our doctors of divinity are mistaken? There is blasphemy in the thought. That which is inhuman cannot be divine. Who can reason on such a proposition? I cannot. The time for such argument is past.
My name is Anna. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could I reach the nation's ear, I would, today, pour out a furious stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The priority of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
My name is William. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer a day that reveals to him, more than all other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a shame, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your denunciations of tyrant, brass-frauded impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your ceremonies and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere boast-bass, fraud, description, enmity, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages.
Hi, my name is Riley Hines, and I will be reading you 28. There is not a nation on the earth guilty to practices more shocking, bloody than are the people of these United States. At this very hour, go where you may, search where you will, roam through all the monarchies and despotisms of the old world. Search out everywhere every abuse, and when you have found out the last, lay your facts by the side of everyday practicing of this nation, and you will stay with me that for revolting barbarity and shameless hypocrisy, America reigns without a rival. Thank you. My name is Brenna Hines, and I'm going to be reading to you 29. Take the American slave trade, which is especially prosperous just now and carried on in all the large towns and cities in one half of this Confederacy in several states. This trade is a chief source of wealth. It is called the internal slave trade in order to divert from it the horror with
which the
in order to divert it from the horror with which the foreign slave trade is contemplated. That trade has long since been denounced by this government as piracy, as an execrable traffic. To arrest it, this nation keeps a squadron at immense cost on the coast of Africa. Everywhere in this country, it is safe.
It is safe to speak of this foreign slave trade as a most inhuman traffic opposed alike to the laws of God and of man. It is, however, a notable fact that while so much extrication is poured out by Americas upon those engaged in the foreign slave trade, the men engaged in the slave trade between the states passed without condemnation, and their business is deemed honorable. Thank you.
Deborah Hines, a little help with my daughter there. Paragraph 30. Behold the practical operation of this internal slave trade, the American slave trade, sustained by American politics and American religion. Here you will see men and women reared like swine for market. You know what is swine drover? I will show you a man drover. They inhabit all of our southern states. They perambulate of the country and crowd the highways of the nation with droves of human stock. You will see one of these human flesh jobbers armed with a pistol, whip, and bowie knife, driving a company of 100 men, women, and children from the Potomac to the slave market at New Orleans. These wretched people are to be sold singly or in lots to suit purchasers. They are food for the cotton field and the deadly sugar mill.
Dickie Krause, paragraph 31. Mark the sad procession as it moves wearily along, and the inhuman wretch who drives them. Hear his savage yells and his blood-chilling oaths as he hurries on his affrighted captives. There, see the old man with locks thinned and gray. Cast one glance, if you please, upon that young mother, whose shoulders are bare to the scorching sun, her briny tears falling on the brow of the babe in her arms. See, too, that girl of 13, weeping, yes, weeping, as she thinks of the mother from whom she has been torn. The drove moves tardily. Heat and sorrow have nearly consumed their strength. Suddenly, you hear a quick snap, like the discharge of a rifle. The fetters clank, and the chain rattles simultaneously. Your ears are saluted with a scream that seems to have torn its way to the center of your soul. The crack you heard was the sound of the slave whip. The scream you heard was from the woman you saw with the babe. Her speed had faltered under the weight of her child and her chains. That gash on her shoulder tells her to move on.
My name is again Beatrice Gimache. I am reading 32. Father the Dove of New Orleans, attend the auction. See men examine like horses. See the forms of women rooted and brutally rooted and brutally exposed to the shocking gaze of American slave buyers. See this dove sold and separated forever. And never forget the deep and I can't see. The deep and sad that sad from the scattered multitudes. Tell me, citizens, where under the sun sat. Yeah, but I can't see. Okay. Yeah.
Where under the sun?
Yeah, where is it? I can't see, man. Yes. Where under the sun you can witness a spectacle more fiendish and shocking. Yet this is but a glance of the American slave trade as it exists at this moment in the United States. I want to thank you. Happy July 4th. Enjoy your season. Long live America. We love you, America. We love you, the people of Lynn. Thank you very, very much for listening to me. Have a wonderful night.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Hi. Fellow citizens, this murderous traffic is today in active operation in the boasted republic. In the solitude of my spirit, I see clouds of dust raised on the highways of the South. I see the bleeding footsteps. I hear the doleful wail of fettered humanity on the way to the slave markets, where the victims are to be sold like horses, sheep, and swine, knocked off to the highest bidder. There I see the tenderest ties ruthlessly broken to gratify the lust, caprice, and rapacity of the buyers and sellers of men.
By an act, Julio Barret, by an act of Congress, not yet 2 years old, slavery has been nationalized in its most horrible and revolving form. Mason and this Dixon's line has been obliterated. New York has become as Virginia and the power to hold, hunt, and sell men, women, and children. As slaves remain no longer a mere state institution, but is now an institution of the whole United States.
Dickie Krause with paragraph 35. The power is coextensive with the Star-Spangled Banner and American Christianity. Where these go, may also go the merciless slave hunter. Where these are, man is not sacred. He is a bird for the sportsman's gun. By that most foul and fiendish of all human decrees, the liberty and person of every man are put in peril. Your broad Republican domain is hunting ground for men.
Your lawmakers have commanded all good citizens to engage in the bellish sport. Your president, your secretary of state enforce
as a duty you owe to your free and glorious country and to your God, that you do this accurate thing. No fewer than 40 Americans have within the past 2 years been hunted down and without moments of warning. Hurry away in claims and consigned to slavery and executing torture. Some of these have had wives and children dependent on them for bread, but this is not account was made the right of the hunter to his prey, attends superior to right of marriage and to all rights in this republic, the rights of God included.
Dickie Krause, paragraph 37. For black men, there are neither law nor justice, humanity nor religion. The fugitive slave law makes mercy to them a crime and bribes the judge who tries them. An American judge gets $10 for every victim he consigns to slavery, and 5 when he fails to do so. The oath of any 2 villains is sufficient under this hell black enactment to send the most pious and exemplary black man into the remorseless jaws of slavery. His own testimony is nothing. He can bring no witnesses for himself. The minister of American justice is bound by the law to hear but one side, and that side is the side of the oppressor. Let this damning fact be perpetually told. Let it be thundered around the world that in tyrant-killing, king-hating, people-loving, democratic Christian America, the seats of justice are filled with judges who hold their offices under an open and palpable bribe and are bound in deciding in the case of a man's liberty to hear only his accusers.
I want to remind everybody there's only a couple of paragraphs left. Anyone can come up and read. David Gass.
In glaring violation of justice, in shameless disregard of the forms of administering law, in cunning arrangement to entrap the defenseless, and in diabolical intent, the fugitive slave law stands alone in the annals of tyrannical legislation. Americans, your Republican politics, not less than your Republican religion, are flagrantly inconsistent. You boast of your love of liberty, your superior civilization, and your pure Christianity, while the whole political power of the nation is solemnly pledged to support and perpetuate the enslavement of 3 million of your countrymen. You hurl your anathemas at the crowded-headed tyrants of Russia and Austria, and pride yourselves on your democratic institutions, while you yourselves consent to be the mere tools and bodyguards of the tyrants of Virginia and Carolina. You invite to your shores fugitives of oppression from abroad, honor them with banquets, greet them with ovations, you cheer them, you toast them, you salute them, you protect them, and pour out your money to them like water. But the fugitives from your own land, you advertise, hunt, arrest, shoot, and kill. I must say that the Fugitive Slave Act led Frederick Douglass to work with James Buffum of Lynn, the noted Quaker and future mayor of Lynn. He had to leave, and they left for Europe, and James Buffum financed Frederick Douglass's tour of Europe. That's our James Buffum from Lynn. Very proud of that.
I'm B flat, and this is paragraph 40. You
discourse eloquently on the dignity of labor, yet you sustain a system which in its very essence casts a stigma upon labor. You can bare your bosom to the storm of British artillery to throw off a 3-penny tax on tea, and yet wring the last hard-earned farthings from the grasp of all black laborers of your country. You profess to believe that of one blood God made all nations of men to dwell on the face of all earth and has commanded all men everywhere to love one another. Yet you notoriously hate and glory in your hatred all men whose skins are not colored like your own.
Stefan Wunsch, paragraph 41. You declare before the world and are understood by the world to declare that you, quote, hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, end quote. And yet, you hold securely in a bondage which, according to your own Thomas Jefferson, is worse than ages of that which your fathers rose in rebellion to oppose. A seventh part of the inhabitants of your country.
Dickie Krause, paragraph 42. Fellow citizens, I will not enlarge further on your national inconsistencies. The existence of slavery in this country brands your republicanism as a sham, your humanity as a base pretense, and your Christianity as a lie. It destroys your moral power abroad, it corrupts your politicians at home, it saps the foundation of religion, it makes your name a hissing and a byword to a mocking earth. Be warned. A horrible reptile is coiled up in your nation's bosom. The venomous creature is nursing at the tender breast of your youthful republic. For the love of God, tear away and fling from you the hideous monster, and let the weight of 20 millions crush and destroy it forever.
Elizabeth McKim, paragraph 43. Allow me to say in conclusion, notwithstanding the dark picture I have this day presented of the state of the nation, I do not despair of this country. There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery. I, therefore, leave off where I began, with hope, while drawing encouragement from the Declaration of Independence, the great principles it contains, and the genius of American institutions. My spirit is cheered by the obvious tendencies of the age. Nations do not now stand in the same relation to each other that they did ages ago. No nation can now shut itself up from the surrounding world and trot around in the same old path of its fathers without interference.
Stefan Wunsch, paragraph 44. The time was when such could be done, but a change has now come over the affairs of mankind. Walled cities and empires have become unfashionable. The arm of commerce has borne away the gates of the strong city. Intelligence is penetrating the darkest corners of the globe. Wind, steam, and lightning are its chartered agents. Oceans no longer divide, but link nations together. From Boston to London is now a holiday excursion. Space is comparatively annihilated. Thoughts expressed on one side of the Atlantic are distinctly heard on the other. In the fervent aspirations of William Lloyd Garrison, I say, and let every heart join in saying it,
together. God speed the day when human blood shall cease to flow. In every client he understood the claims of human brotherhood. In each return for evil good, not blow for blow. That day will come, all feuds to end, and change into a faithful friend, each foe.
Thank you, everyone. Let's thank our drummer. Woo! All right, now what's going to happen is we're going to open up the tower. Everybody come on up and take a look at the beautiful view.